Hi, and welcome back to the channel. Last week, we finished up the installation of the ears for Jinx the Wolf, a head base that I'm working on for a family friend that lives about 2,000 miles away. This week, we will move on to installing the eyes, epoxy sculpting the eyelids, and a little bit around the nose, and then we will begin duct tape patterning the head base so that we can start patterning the fur. Now for a quick preview of where I'm at on the project currently, as the head is nearly completed. Now, I feel like I need to work on a tail for Jinx as well. First things first though, I began by printing out some slightly modified templates, again, from Heavenly Odyssey. I began by putting a single dab of E6000 adhesive in the middle of the half-sphere epoxy blank, and press it down and work any air bubbles that may be present out from between the print and the eye blank. Once the eyes were set up, I trimmed off the excess photo paper and then just hot glue gunned the eyes onto the head base. I paid close attention to how the eyes were oriented, that way you didn't have some weird looking eyes looking in different directions. Looking at the head base, without any epoxy sculpted eyelids or anything, it's kind of creepy. The thing just stares right into your soul. As with the Blood Moon build, I just took the epoxy sculpt in 2 equal parts and started blending the two together. As you work the material, it gets warmer and softer and gives you about 20, maybe 30 minutes of working time, if not longer. I took the epoxy sculpt and broke it into 2 pieces, one for each side of the face, and then began sculpting around the eyes, and then I took a little bit of the excess to build up around the nose. I did this so that I had something for the fur to back up to, and not show the backing. The theory was great, but I needed to make a much larger edge as the backing was still quite visible. Next time, I'd work on sculpting the nose a whole lot more, but overall for this project, it is definitely better than not having the ledge at all. Now it's time to put some springs in the jaw, for some articulation. I didn't want to use rubber bands as the primary mechanism for the articulating jaw, so I figured the springs would work. So I'm just trying to figure out the placement right now.
As I'm putting the spring in, I'm thinking it seems like it's maybe a little bit too long. So I'm gonna go ahead and try the mask on and see how it fits. But in the end, I realized that that spring just wouldn't allow the jaw to articulate all the way back into the closed position. So I opt to get a little bit smaller of a spring, and it helps. I then come along and put some craft foam and upholstery foam together to create a bit of a chin rest. Well, that seems to work alright. Another little change that I'm doing from the Blood Moon build is putting a piece of elastic from the back of the head harness to the jaw hinge area. That way, it keeps the head harness kind of static and more in place. On this build, I'm also putting in balaclava in. That way, the interior is a little bit cleaner. I glue the balaclava to the 3D printed head base over in the muzzle area and up and around the eyes. And then I glue it to the top and then sew it into place. And for me, this is one of the most exciting parts because I get to start putting the duct tape down, meaning I'm getting closer to being able to pattern. And for when I don't have a good reference for patterning, this is how I get everything to kind of work. I take little scraps of fur and just pin them into place until I figure out, hey, that looks pretty good. Of course, along the way, I'm taking pictures and sending them to my friend. That way they've got some input and some say in what I'm doing. We're getting pretty close to being on the right track. We're just not quite there yet. But overall, just wanted to show a little bit of my process. And you could also see my daughter's dragon that she was working on over in the background. Well, as this episode starts drawing to a close, I'll leave you with the preview of the next episode as we start finishing up the face. Well, thank you again for watching, and please consider liking and subscribing if you'd like to see some more of this content.